welcome to Three Growlers, a show for craft beer drinkers by craft beer drinkers. Brought to you by Beerploma. Visit us on our website, beerploma.com.
Thanks for the intro, Chris, and welcome back, guys. Chris, Jason, welcome to episode 2 of season 2.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it is.
Before we get into our beers here, let us talk about some upcoming events that we have. Guys, Beerploma's got a couple classes going on. It's an introduction to craft beers, so if you guys are getting lost in your liquor store aisle, this is the perfect class for you. We have our first one on April 10th in Richfield, and our second one is May 22nd in Bloomington. You can go to br.thatscommunityed.com, and we'll post that website right down here at the bottom of the screen. So, well, guys, I know we focus a lot on Minnesota craft beers here, but part of our mission statement is also to make sure that we talk about beers from the greater Midwest region. So I've collected a lot of the beers here from the greater Midwest. We've got a beer from Nebraska, we've got one from Wisconsin, and we've got one from Michigan today. So let's give them a nod today too, and let's get into them. Let's see what our first one is here. Our first one, and Jason, if you wouldn't mind bringing this one out, is from Lucette Brewing, which is in Menominee, Wisconsin. It's their Rides Again Pale Ale. It's an American Pale Ale. Here it is right there. We'll get a nice little close-up of it. It's an American Pale Ale. It's 5.2% alcohol. And let's give this one a go.
All right.
Chris, you want to do us the honors?
Gladly.
Now, will I have to ask, when you're trying a new beer, is there any kind of certain ritual you go through as far as
For you.
color, smell, you know?
Well, that depends on how you're asking that question. Are you talking about like when I've got like a lineup of new beers? How do I pick which one goes where? Or
I guess when you're just tasting one for the first time, I mean, kind of what you're looking for at that first sip.
you know, that's a really good question, and I guess the big piece of advice that I give to everybody who is about to dive into a new beer is you have to remember you have to use all 5 of your senses. If you've got the sixth sense, go for it. But as far as I'm concerned, only Bruce Willis has that. So, so we got to use our five senses, and we're going to start with look. What does the beer look like? What am I seeing out of this? I'm seeing a good head. I mean, you have to remember that this is a smaller pour, so we're not going to get a big foamy head out of this. But this is a good head for the size of the pour. There's tons of carbonation in there, and the color is kind of like a reddish, goldish color. So that's what I'm getting out of that first. So the next one is going to be my sense of smell. I'll let you guys tell me what you guys are getting out of this one.
So I get a fresh cut grass, that real flowery.
A flowery bouquet? Yeah, I would go with that.
Yeah, I get that floral.
I'm getting a piney, citrusy smell out of it. But it's almost because of the fact that I just see that there's pale ale on the thing, and I almost automatically, instinctively think that right away. So that just might be experience, but no, I think you guys both.
Now, is there specific hops that contributes to that really flowery?
Great question. In this case, it's Cascade hops.
Okay.
So, and that would be, the Cascade hops is what's giving it that citrusy smell. Now, one thing that I should point out too is that I did overskip the hearing part of it. When we pop, well, this one is a can, and this is more for bottles. But when you open up a container of beer, you should hear a fresh pop. You should hear a fresh, crisp kind of sound to it. That's a sign that it's a very well done beer. But you can also hear the carbonation to it and lots of fizz. So there's where you get that next sense. The next sense is going to be touch, and that's like what are you going to do? You stick your finger in it, stir it? No, you actually can touch with your tongue. So you're gonna slide it back, and you're gonna start at the tip of your tongue, and you're gonna slide it all the way back to the back of your palate, and you're gonna notice after you try enough beers that some beers are gonna be thick, some beers are gonna be thin, and that's called mouthfeel, and that's touching your beer. And lastly, then we're gonna get into the taste, and that's what we're gonna do right now. So we're gonna do the touch and the taste kind of at the same time here. Prost. Very well done. Mm-hmm. Kind of in the mid-range of the mouthfeel, which a lot of good American Pale Ales are going to be. I'm definitely getting kind of some sweeter notes in there, especially in the back end of the taste. And I am getting a lot more fresh cut grass flavor out of the taste out of this one. I mean, I'm definitely seeing where you're picking up the smell, so good job on that.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking?
I think it has a real nice lighter mouthfeel. You know, as far as a beer of this type, you know, usually they have kind of that, you know, that feeling where they kind of stick to your tongue. You know, you really feel like it's coated your mouth. This, just great flavor, lays off real quick. You know, good casual drinking beer.
But it does have a hoppiness to it, too. So, I mean, the hop drinkers shouldn't shy away from this one. I think it's got a real good hop presence to it.
It's hoppy. It almost seems fresh, kind of, to me.
Yeah.
Light and fresh.
Good call. The next one we're going to have is the It's by Thunderhead Brewing out of Kearney, Nebraska. Asa, my former boss, I have to thank you for bringing this one back from your hometown for me. And this is their Golden Frau Honey Wheat Ale. It's a 7%, which is really not normal for a wheat beer of this type. That is really heavy. And it's brewed with Nebraska-made Sandhill honey, so it's actually using local ingredients within it, which I'm always a big supporter because I am a huge local whore. So, and it should have like a real good low bitterness and kind of just a smooth taste to it. So, but let's give it a shot.
Okay. Anybody care to do the honor?
You know what?
All right.
Oh wait, hold on, before we do that. Let's get a nice little close-up in that one. Golden Frau.
So the word Frau.
German for lady or woman. You would also use it to introduce people, I would use it to introduce my wife. Das ist meine Frau. This is my wife. Very light, pale color, almost slightly hazy, and a good thick white head on that one.
Now, when I heard a wheat beer, I was expecting kind of a cloudy color. So this is quite clear. Very clear.
Well, a wheat beer doesn't necessarily indicate cloudy. A wheat just means that they're not using barley.
Good call. I did not know that.
Well, and actually think about the most famous wheat beer on the planet, which would be your Honey Weiss. It's about as clear as they get. And it's actually a lager, where this is an ale. So all that means is that it's going to be a very light colored beer, and it's using a good wheat presence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very light. I'm almost getting no smell.
I'm getting a little bit of a smell, but it's hard for me to put my finger onto it. I would call it a white grape type smell.
Okay.
But that's stretching the definition.
Yeah, it's essence of white grape.
I like that. Very smooth, very low carbonation, and for the fact that this is a 7% beer, you don't taste it. So very well done. The honey really does kind of come out into it. It gives it kind of. It does have that honey sweetness to it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not a huge fan of comparing a beer to another beer, but this is almost like a grain bill, like your simple premium, but at 7%. It's amazing.
But it's also got the honey. I think it's more sweet.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's way more sweet.
It's almost like a sweet after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of leaves that honey coating. Like, have you ever had a spoonful of honey before?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm a sucker for honey. Then yeah, I definitely taste that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it's exceptionally light for being so strong.
Yeah.
When I hear 7%, I think thick and, strong beer.
Yeah, you're expecting something very solventy, that real strong alcohol presence, but this is
well done.
very well balanced. Both good and potentially dangerous.
Good thing that was my last one. Okay, guys, the next beer that we got is from Dark Horse Brewing out of Marshall, Michigan, and it's their Thirsty Trout Porter. Again, this is another 7% alcohol beer, and we should get some aromas out of this one that are chocolatey with hints of coffee bean, according to their website.
Sounds good.
Do we have an opener?
Do we have an opener? Opener.
Church key.
I'm a huge fan of porters, so I really look forward to trying new porters.
Oh. And Thirsty Trout. We'll get a view of the bottle.
All right, so here we have the Thirsty Trout Porter. So now I've really begun to respect the dark beer categories from this brewery. One of the things that I really like that I've got sitting at home right now doing an aging experiment on is they do a series of 4 different types of stouts, and each one of them is a little bit different. And so they're limited release, and they only come out certain times, but they make them once a year. So that way you can age them. So you can try part 1 of the series and then last year's part 1 back to back. But then you can also take part 1 and compare it to part 2. So like where one is a milk stout, the other one is an oatmeal stout. So it's really interesting how they brought this great educational opportunity out of all their stouts. So, but this is their porter. For those of you guys who are interested, the difference between a porter and a stout is that a porter you should be able to hold up to the light and see through it. So yep, this definitely qualifies as a porter. Outside of that, ingredients are essentially the same.
So I got a real light aroma.
I got a real light aroma too, and that's not something I normally expect from a porter. Normally with porters you get a nice, good, robust flavor or aroma, but it definitely makes up for it in the flavor.
Yeah.
The flavor has got a nice, good, crisp coffee flavor to it, with a little bit of chocolatey overtones to it. So, what are you thinking over there, Jason?
I got coffee right away, definitely.
Now this one at 7%, you can definitely taste the alcohol compared to our last beer that was at 7%.
It's more noticeable, but I still don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, noticeable, not bad.
I like the carbonation a lot in this one too.
And that is one other thing that you might notice that is different between a company's stout and porter, is that because the porter can carry the carbonation a lot easier. So, good call out on that one, Jason. Okay, guys, for our last beer tonight, I wanted to bring something special to you guys to kind of commemorate the new season of 3 Growlers. Sorry, it's going to take a while before I can get that number 3 Growlers. So I brought you guys back a beer from Germany, and this is Feedler's
Feedler?
well, it basically translates to their original land beer, and it's a 4.7%. And a land beer is sort of like a Pilsner, but it's going to be less carbonated, and it's going to have a heavier malt accent. Want to go show that to the camera where you're looking at it?
Sure.
You said that's German as well?
And this one is from Germany, and it's actually from a friend of mine. Actually, Matthias, for those of you guys who've been following our show, Matthias was one of our guests on our show, and he's very good about picking me up new beers here. So the last time I was there, this was my Christmas present. Okay.
Burger beer?
Yes.
Sure.
Sure. Let's drink it.
All right. Almost looks like Erzner beer.
Something like this come in a 12-pack, or how do these big bottles come?
No, they're
One
just
at a
sold
time?
like that. Well, actually, in Germany, when you buy a beer like that, you actually get like a whole case of like 24 of them. So as you guys can see, it's a very clear, very, very, very clear straw gold color. Lots of carbonation to it.
Very close to our golden Frau.
Yeah, actually, you are correct. It's a little bit darker.
A little darker here, but
So definite white grape.
Definite white grape, and I can actually pinpoint to what hops that one is. That's going to be Saaz hops. It's going to be your common Pilsner hops out of that one. So that's definitely what I'm smelling. It's kind of like a cross between white grape and like grass cuttings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of the grass cut, like that real flowery aroma out of the beer. I'm getting more of just that real kind of sweet, fruity aroma.
And this one, a lot of land beers that I've had, they were basically, they were very much like Pilsner clones, where, it was just that Saaz hops flavor. Where this one, I'm really getting that malty accent out of it. I'm really getting the maltiness out of this one. So, still has quite a bit of carbonation in it, but it has a real thick mouthfeel. For a beer that light, that's a very thick mouthfeel.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm getting a lot of carbonation in this one compared to
Yeah,
the
it's
other
a
ones.
really sweet, kind of sugary, thick coating.
Well, and you'll know, if I bring you guys back some Pilsners from Germany, you'll know that this is very light in carbonation.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Kind of a slight aside, it has kind of like, you described it before as kind of that funky aftertaste.
I haven't used the word funky for a couple episodes, but
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on.
it does. Actually, there actually is an official term for this. And it's not funky. This one's skunky. But
Okay.
that you should get out of German type beers. Keller beer, a Pilsner, or a land beer. You should get that sort of a light skunkiness to it that just kind of lingers on the back of your tongue.
Now, that's different than a skunky beer, though.
That's different than a skunky beer. This is an intentional skunking.
Yeah.
So,
Intentional skunking versus unintentional skunking.
but overall, very well put together beer, and this is actually one of my very first land beers, so I'm actually enjoying it. It's very different from what I'm used to. So,
This isn't one of the typical ones you drink when you're in Germany?
no, in Germany it's almost all Pilsner. It's almost all Pilsner. I mean, I have to give my left arm to get anything but a Pilsner.
Wow.
So,
And having been in Germany before, beer is definitely cheaper than Coke or any soft drink.
Wow. I did not know that.
and we can get into the whole thing about high fructose corn syrup and how they're trying to cut that out of daily lives over there better than we are. But that's a topic for the next time Matthias shows up. So,
Unless you're drinking Rattler. Or
well, but Radler is a different thing, and we'll get into Radlers one day at another episode
Yeah.
here. But Radlers, well, and when you talk about Radler, see, we're just starting to get introduced to Radler. Like Shell's brought in that grapefruit Radler this year. There's a couple lemon Radlers out there, but like in Germany, they actually mix their pilsners with like Coke and Diet Coke to make some certain versions of their Radler. And
that's called a diesel. So traditional.
It depends on where you're from. So you were on the Berlin side of it, so that's
okay.
where they call it. They don't call it that over where my wife's hometown.
Yeah, traditionally when I've had the Rattler, it's been the closest thing that we have over here would be Sprite, but over there it's more of just kind of like a bottled lemon water.
Yeah.
What they mix it with.
Yep.
It makes for a great beer to have when it's about 95 degrees out.
I couldn't disagree with you more. German Radlers to me are a bastardization of a great beer culture, and I'm going to stick to my guns on that one. Occasionally, I found myself liking some of the cola mixes, but I don't.
See, that's where I could disagree. Those are just, yeah,
See,
not very great.
it's a teach their own. But hey,
Yeah. We'll agree to disagree.
I guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one.
And that sounds like a good episode. In the future, Battle of the Mixed Beers.
Actually, believe it or not, that was on docket for either April or May already.
All right.
But I was going to focus in on the Coca-Cola mixed ones. But if that's not your thing, I'll make sure to throw in a couple spray ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, guys,
The battle's on.
The battle's on. Yeah, bring it. And you'll be the judge.
You know what? Let's do it.
So, guys, that's the episode for today. That wraps up episode 2 of season 2. So, if you like this episode, leave us a comment in the comment box or on Facebook and Twitter. We want to hear back from you. Whether you got show suggestions or ideas or beers you want us to try, leave us a comment. We want to hear some feedback from you guys, what you guys like and what you guys don't like. So, we'll read anything. Be sure to check us out at on our website at beerploma.com, and don't forget to also check out our award-winning blog, which you can also find at beerploma.com. Just go there and click the little blog button, and that'll take you right to our blog. So, with that said, that's the show. Prost.
Prost.
Guys.
Remember, who bought the pizza? I better win.
Remember who did the tap at Buffalo Wild Wings? I better win.
Beerploma.
Everybody wins.